Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody, from wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another University Guys webinar. It's my great pleasure to have a really expert panel tonight, and I'm going to play a relatively small role in this presentation. For those who may have had the misfortune of going to high school with me, you may realise that this is not necessarily a topic you want my expertise on. It is, however, a really interesting and exciting topic, and I'm really grateful to have three guests from one of the United States' most fascinating and interesting institutions, particularly for those exploring the creative careers. And so I hope over the course of this webinar, you'll be able to delve into this topic, learn a lot more about Scad in particular, and the creative careers in the US in general. I'm particularly excited to hear from an alumna of Scad, Alex Schultz, who's going to give us all the benefits of not just about how it is like to be a student there, but actually can you get a job afterwards, which I know for the counsellors on the call, and sometimes for parents is one of the key issues that we're dealing with. For those who don't know, my name is David Hawkins. I'm the director and founder of the University Guys, member of Capital International Schools, COBIS, the International Association of College Admissions Counselling, and the Independent Educational Consultants Association. I do like a good acronym. But what all that means is that we at the University Guys, of which I say I'm the director, support students at schools around the British Isles with applications to universities all over the world. Our students this year gained offers from 111 different universities in 9 countries. And as part of our mission, we like to educate our community about the wonderful opportunities there are to study all sorts of amazing subjects around the world. Now, within that process, we do have a lot of students who pursue the creative careers, and it would be remiss of me not to introduce my colleague Brandy, who does specialise in supporting our creative students with their portfolios. You'll notice, again, a theme of the Savannah College of Art and Design appearing here again, because Brandy is also a graduate of that university and indeed worked for the university. But she's a practicing artist as well as an admissions officer now for a college in Florida. And for any students who are going to go through the creative process for the US, having someone who knows the nuances of that system is a really important one. My mouse is a little bit quicker. So I'm just going to touch on a few points for a few minutes before we get on to the really important people. And one of the key things to understand when we're looking for the United States, as with every type of college choice in the United States, is to understand what you are choosing. What are you applying for? And those of you who've joined previous webinars will have heard me talk about the idea of fit when choosing a college, and particularly the idea of an academic fit. And so in the same way as when we're talking about majors and minors and different types of distribution requirements or core curricula, when we're looking about studying art in the US, we've got to understand how much art do you want. And so I've got 3 institutions on the screen now in front of you, which just are examples of how you might be able to fit a creative subject into a US university experience in different ways. So what we're going to hear about today is an art school, Scad, the Savannah College of Art and Design, which is for students who want to pursue those areas. You may hear about a quirky program or two that Scad seems to have in the mix as well, but it is an art school, and that is what students are getting. They're getting that creative education. You could, however, go to an undergraduate college, and the one there with the beautiful sun setting is Vassar College in upstate New York, a top-ranked liberal arts college in the United States, with a very strong studio art major. But a student majoring in studio art at an undergraduate college, be that someone like Harvard College at Harvard or Brown College at Brown, or a standalone liberal arts college like Vassar, will still be doing a core curriculum, will still be spreading their subjects across all the different academic disciplines. So yes, you will be majoring, say, in studio art, but you're also taking a maths class, some literature classes, some language classes, and so on and so forth. And you have the flexibility maybe to come in thinking I want to major in studio art, but potentially you're going to pivot to something else as you go through the degree. A third option might be the hybrid model, and you've got the University of Michigan there with their big house, the stadium that seats 110,000 people, where you can go to a big institution which has different undergraduate colleges within it. So at Michigan, you've got the College of Arts and Sciences, you've got an engineering school as well, but you also have an art school within that bigger university. So you will have requirements for every student at that university, but within the School of Fine Arts there, you're going to have fewer requirements outside of the fine arts, but students can still get access maybe to a comprehensive university experience. They are going to be able to go and see the Wolverines play the American football game, which is not going to be the experience you would potentially find at a lot of US art schools. So it really is about fit, about students understanding. Saying, I want to study a creative course in the US is a really great starting point. But in what way do you want to study it? In what particular type of institution do you want to study it? And what is the culture that comes with that? is a really important question for people to kind of address. Now, in this kind of process as well, we need to understand the difference between a comprehensive and a specialized university. And this is something which again comes into fit. A comprehensive university, like I just talked about, Michigan and like a lot of universities we have in the UK and Ireland, are doing every single subject. And that can be a university which is very undergraduate focused. A more specialized university might have an undergraduate focus, but it could actually potentially be more postgraduate focused as well. So you might find that the balance of the age ranges at the university could potentially be quite different. In the field of engineering, Caltech is a great example. Caltech brings in only 256 undergraduates a year. There are thousands of postgraduate students in that university. The social life is going to be different in an institution like that. The accommodation is going to be different in an institution like that, depending on who it caters for. So again, when we're looking at specialty schools, really important to understand the differences you've got there. I'm going to skip through this because I'm conscious of our time. So if anyone does want some information about the university, guys, and the work that we do and how we support students in that, my contact details are there. I'm going to reappear at the end to throw some questions this way, but as I said, I'm not the really important person here today, so I'm going to hand over and we can learn a bit more about Scad. So I shall pass things on.
Fantastic. Thanks, David. Well, my name is Olivia Anderson, and I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions for Europe and the UK at Scad. And I think to start us off, Kaylin Curtis is going to provide us with some information about Scad.
So let me stop sharing screen, Kaylin, and we'll switch things over to you.
Perfect.
So if I stop sharing, you should be now able to share your screen.
Okay. How do I do that?
Right, the options should just be popped over to you, and you should now have a little tag to it.
Okay.
There we go.
Everybody can see my screen?
Perfect.
Yes, indeed.
All right. I'm going to turn my video off for just a moment while I'm presenting. Let's see here. Okay. Hopefully that looks good. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Again, my name is Kaylin Curtis. I am a Scad graduate. I finished my undergraduate degree in 2010 in photography at the Scad Atlanta campus. I have been working as of July 11th for the university's admission office for 9 years, and I'm currently serving as the Director of Admission for international students. Scad was founded in 1978, and for more than 40 creative years, we have grown to become the most comprehensive and connected art and design university in the world. With campus locations in Atlanta and Savannah, Georgia, Lacoste, France, and online through Scad Elearning. Today, the university enrolls more than 15,000 students from all 50 United States and more than 100 countries. In fact, 27% of the current student population is international, representing 118 different countries around the world. We offer more programs of study and specializations than any other art and design university in the United States, with over 100 degree programs across more than 40 majors and more than 75 minors. Scad is a fully accredited university with nationally and internationally ranked academic degree programs, like our fashion department, which has consistently received top praise from the Business of Fashion, the world's paramount resource for fashion creatives. Scad's interior design program has been ranked #1 by Design Intelligence for 8 years, 2019, 18, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, and 11. An unprecedented back-to-back #1 ranking. Our motion media design program has been ranked #1 in the world for 3 consecutive years by the Rookies, dubbed the Oscars for Creative Minds. Scad was selected as one of only 14 universities in the United States to offer the groundbreaking Integrated Path to Architectural Licensure, or IPAL program for short, a program allowing architecture students to receive both a Bachelor of Fine Arts and Master of Architecture in as few as 7 years, along with licensure, compared to programs that traditionally take between 11 to 15 years. The Hollywood Reporter places Scad's production design major and costume design minor among the top in the nation and the world, whose graduates go on to work at major studios and film companies, as do the graduates of our illustration and animation programs, who master multiple forms of animation and production while at Scad. Career preparation forms the foundation of Scad, as evidenced by the university's stellar alumni employment rate. 99% of spring 2018 alumni were employed, pursuing further education, or both, within just 10 months of graduation. Perhaps even more impressive, 92% of these students are currently working in a creative field. These extraordinary numbers are a testament to our talented and ambitious students and speak volumes about the quality of a Scad education. Scad alumni and their work are everywhere. If you've watched the Academy Award-winning films Zootopia or Frozen, you've seen the work of Scad visual effects alumnus Mir Zafar Ali. He built complex digital worlds for other hit films such as Moana, The Incredible Hulk, X-Men First Class, and Spider-Man 3. If you've tuned into the Netflix series Godless, you've seen the star-making turns of Scad Performing Arts graduate Kaylee Carter. She booked her earliest acting roles through the Scad Performing Arts Showcase and the Scad Casting Office, the only professionally run full-time casting office in higher education today, before moving on to major roles in films such as Private Life, starring alongside Kathryn Hahn and Paul Giamatti. Most recently, you can see her starring in Hulu's Mrs. America series. Scad graduates include graphic design alumna India Hayes, who employs retro-style illustrations to address hot-button political topics for her graphic packages and animations for CNN. From fashion to industrial design, Scad graduates are transforming creative industries like Honda senior motorcycle designer Eric Dunshee, who has more than 20 patents to his name. Scad photography alumnus An Lee has captured stars like Camila Cabello, Mariah Carey, John Legend, Kate Hudson, and Sarah Jessica Parker for Harper's Bazaar, GQ, and Scene magazines, among many others. Winner of the 2019 Council of Fashion Designers of America Vogue Fashion Fund and the $400,000 US cash prize that comes along with it, Christopher John Rogers has quickly ascended the ranks of the fashion world. Following graduation from Scad, Rogers has dressed fashion-forward celebrities like Michelle Obama, Lizzo, Whoopi Goldberg, and more. At the age of just 24, Scad alumna Valeria Rocha has already been dubbed an artistic genius by pop icon Taylor Swift, who personally recruited Rocha to photograph the iridescent album cover of Lover, as well as the entire arsenal of promotional shots that teased one of the decade's most popular albums. This is just a small selection of the accomplished family of Scad alumni, which includes award winners, visionary innovators, and leaders in art, fashion, design, and more. Scad offers 3 distinctive locations immersed in culture and history, as well as a global e-learning platform. And when you're accepted to Scad, you are accepted to all of our locations. This means you can begin your career in Atlanta, a thriving business and film production hub, now the #1 market in the world for feature film production. Scad Atlanta students live, work, and play in the city's bustling Midtown area, surrounded by parks, museums, shopping, concert venues, sports arenas, and more. Students participate in the campus's vibrant signature events such as ATV Fest, hosting visits from top actors, producers, and screenwriters. Scad Lacoste offers students the ability to study in one of the world's most beautifully preserved hilltop villages with stone buildings constructed over 1,000 years ago. Students travel throughout the region exploring historic sites, including the artistic beauty of Paris, and collaborate with major companies across Europe. Scad Savannah promises to inspire as students immerse themselves in one of the country's most celebrated national historic landmark districts. close to the scenic beaches and tropical palm trees of coastal Georgia. Scad is woven into the fabric of the city, with more than 80 restored buildings hosting cutting-edge resources to expand your creativity, including computer-aided looms, rapid 3D printers, green screen technology, and camera equipment. Scad Elearning enables you to take classes from the farthest corners of the globe. The innovative platform features the same classes, renowned faculty, and support services that form the foundation of all Scad locations. Scad offers rolling admission, which means that you can start your Scad career during any of our academic quarters: fall, which begins in September, winter, which begins in January, spring, which begins in late March, or summer, which begins in June. We encourage students to apply early, and in fact, high school students can begin their applications as early as junior year, which is grade 12 at most schools in the UK. The first step is to complete the online application. Once you do, you are paired with your very own personal admission advisor who will walk you through the necessary steps to complete your application. Remember, you do not have to have any documents ready at the time of submitting your application, as it is simply a biographical form. We encourage all students to visit a Scad location in person prior to making their final decision. There are virtual tours available for each location as well. Throughout the process, please stay in touch with us. You can find us on nearly every social media platform, such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. To begin your application, visit scad.edu/apply. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that we'll welcome you to the Scad family soon.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kaylin. I've heard these presentations before, and I still find it extraordinarily inspiring to hear the massive opportunities and things that students at Scad are doing. And without further ado, we should really find out the reality behind that. So, Olivia, back over to you for, I think, what most people are waiting for. I hope a really insightful interview with Alex.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Kaylin. So as you heard in this presentation, we're very proud of some pretty incredibly talented and hardworking alumni. And today we're very lucky to have yet another example of one of these fantastic alumni. That is Alex Schiltz. Alex graduated from Scad in 2016 with a BFA in visual effects and a minor in technical direction. He has worked for Pixar Animation Studios for 3 years, where he eventually became technical director of set modeling and contributed to Onward, Toy Story 4, Incredibles 2, Coco, Auntie Edna, and Spark Shorts. He's now based in London, working for DNEG as a modeler. So thank you so much for being with us today, Alex.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the invite.
So to start us off, what initially drew you to the world of art and design? Did you always feel that you were an artistic person?
I'd say primarily films and like video games. I guess there's something about it that kind of takes you to like another world. And I guess for me, I thought that was just like a really cool feeling, and I just wanted to be a part of that process. So yeah, it's just, I guess initially starting off with more 2D and then understanding design, and yeah, just worked my way up into doing some 3D stuff.
Fantastic. So how did you first learn about Scad?
It was actually through my high school art teacher. I guess something I would say is important is like kind of being open to, I mean, like expressing the things you want to do to, you know, people like your mentors or whatever. And it was through her that she had mentioned it, and I don't know if I would have found out about it otherwise, but yeah, she was a really big inspiration, and I found out through her.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your experience at Scad?
I'd say overall it was very rich, and it was really eye-opening to be kind of surrounded by a whole community of artists and creatives. And I think coming from the Midwest in the US, I kind of found my pocket of artists that I would always hang out with. And I think going there and being surrounded by everyone that was just so eager to create things and collaborate and just generally into like some of the same stuff that that I was into was just really cool. And yeah, in general, it was just, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's great. Yeah, we've heard from a lot of alumni that being surrounded with fellow creative individuals can really shape your experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think if anything, the biggest thing I got out of going there was just the network that I made and the people that kind of pushed me to try different things, and you get different perspectives through them. And like just being surrounded by people that are doing various creative things that, I don't know, like my roommate was in performing arts, and my other roommate was in jewelry, and I think I learned a lot about that, and like got dragged to a lot of performances that maybe I wouldn't have gone to, but like those inspired me in other ways. And I think just being in that kind of atmosphere is just really, it just motivates you to just want to create and push yourself and, you know, just contribute to the creative community.
Oh, that's great. So what would you say was your favorite class or your favorite professor while you were at SCAD?
I don't know if I would have like a favorite class or professor, but I personally feel like I got a lot out of each of the classes that I attended. I think, yeah, like just learning either something about like a life lesson through one of those classes, like if it was in some foundational thing, or like through like my VFX professors and 3D. Like I feel like everyone had something to contribute, and yeah, I was just kind of soaking it all up. And I guess, I don't know, something I didn't think I would have enjoyed as much going into it, but ended up loving a lot, was learning a lot of the art history classes, because I had to take loads of it for my major. And I think learning about the people that kind of paved the way for different mediums and, you know, art in general is just a really interesting thing that kind of drives just the things we do now and inspires the things that we love.
That's great. And I see that someone has written a question, and it's very similar, but could be answered different depending on your experience. What is
Sure.
your most memorable class that you took at SCAD?
Memorable class.
Yeah.
I guess there was this one class that was actually pretty interesting, where it was like a midterm thing, and like I had to make, I guess this is more of an event, but in general, like I've have like pockets of like things that were like amazing in different classes, but in this one class, it was like, it's just cool because you just like learn a lot from these different experiences or mistakes. But I guess like one time I had this midterm and we had to drop everything, and then just like, because I was doing a 3D modeling class, and then I was making this lighthouse, and we only had like a certain amount of time to do it. And I realized that me personally and the art that I was making growing up, like I was just into like the really intricate details, and I was even doing that in the foundational classes. But I realized that the time was up, and I had only done like the base of the lighthouse, and the rest was just like this cylinder, and it was just not, it was not good. And then I realized like through that class and like those little mistakes that like, you know, you gotta do the broad strokes first and like things like that, and like that's just part of the creative process. But I think it's just like those small little moments that you kind of create this discipline in you that I feel like I got a lot out of.
That's great. So what would you say your first experience was like while at SCAD, that first year as a freshman?
I thought it was really cool, super fun, just meeting people from literally every major, like I said earlier. Yeah, I feel like everyone's just really open to being friends. And because I mean, everyone's kind of new, and everyone wants to kind of learn about the things that you do. And yeah, I think in general, like, I mean, if I could recommend anyone listening right now to kind of go maybe for the full 4 years, just, and maybe not like, you know, transfer credits or whatever, because I just think that for me at least, like going there and then being with these people and growing with them, and then building that network with people maybe you wouldn't have talked to before, or before you get maybe really caught up in things after foundation classes. I think it was through those other friendships that I made and throughout that kind of helped inspire me in other ways that I probably wouldn't have never looked into or kind of heard about.
Oh, that's great. Good advice. Did anything in particular surprise you that very first year?
I'd say like in general, just kind of getting used to how everything was kind of structured. I think coming out of this kind of institution and like where it seems like art, at least for me in my high school, it was always something that I took very seriously, but it seemed as though everyone else didn't. And like it was definitely getting less funding. And it's just a bummer because I just think it's super important. And then I think just having that as like, something you're focused on, and being surrounded by people that tell you that this is like really important is like really refreshing. And I guess maybe on like a fun note, the music scene in Savannah wasn't as big, which I was kind of bummed about, but also it's kind of good because it made me focus more, but it inherently made like me and my friends create our own like DIY music venue, and like other pop-up like punk shows and stuff kind of came through that. So, I just think it's cool because we all found a way to kind of work it out. But yeah, I thought that was really funny.
That's awesome. Good for you guys.
Yeah.
So we have a question here. What extracurricular activities did you do while at Scad?
I guess like maybe the first year foundation, I was kind of more I don't know, I skateboard, so I would just kind of do that on my own. But personally, I think I kind of hunkered down and focused a lot when I was going there. I think just from people I know that I went with, it's easy to kind of get caught up in like just wanting to party or socialize. And I think it's good to have like that balance. But I do think that going there, for me at least, and knowing that it's just 4 years, like that was why I went there, and I wanted to use all the resources I can. And yeah, I mean, I feel like for the most part, like I definitely had a balance, and I definitely spent time with my friends and did a bunch of fun things. But for the most part, I think the majority of my time was spent focused on actually getting my stuff done and like making what I was studying a lifestyle. Because I think if you're going into it expecting the teacher to teach you everything, and then you go home and then you can just do whatever you want and then not really focus on that and make that a part of your routine, then I don't know if necessarily studying it would be something you'd want to do, because you'd want that creative process and the things you do to be a part of your life. So I took the things that the teachers had taught me, and then I would go home and then study and do more of it, and just kind of build up my portfolio and research more. And like, not to say you should do that all the time, because you definitely want to balance it out, but I definitely think going there is important to realize that you're going there specifically to study that craft, as opposed to just going to maybe because being in Britain, and maybe it's more exciting to be in the US, and there's definitely a lot you can get from it through the process. But I definitely think that studying and like focusing and then building that discipline, because when you leave, that's what you take with you. It's not like, I mean, you take the experiences you get throughout, but it's just kind of you at the end with your work. So I think that's just something to think about.
Absolutely. I think that sounds like a fantastic attitude to have, and really is a testament to the work that you put into the degree.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun though.
Oh, that's great. That's always good to
Yeah.
hear. So what inspired you to pursue studying visual effects?
I guess in general, I just thought it was cool. Like I don't know, I liked visual effects. Like watching specific films inspired me, and like growing up watching these films. And I think it being a 3D medium, it kind of lends itself to having a little bit more versatility, as far as not being confined to working in maybe a 2D space, but working in 3D and kind of incorporating different techniques to simulate different effects. But like I think it lends itself well to working in various mediums, and just like a lot of flexibility. And I personally, I just thought it was like a lot of fun, and I was really inspired by the films that were using it. So yeah, I'd say that.
That's great. It's always good to pursue something that you think is fun.
Yeah.
So what has been your most rewarding experience working in the creative industry?
I would definitely say the people. I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy, but in general, like I think going to Scad or like, just being around people, it's like you're more focused, or at least like directly, like you think that the thing that you're gonna love the most is like just the process, which I think you should love. And but I think being around the people that I was around, at Pixar and where I am now and at the mill, they kind of helped mold me into, or helped shape me into kind of being more curious, and then just generally interested in a lot of things that maybe I wasn't before. So like, I don't know, when I was at Pixar, I was doing like, I met this guy, and he was like just really big into like Arduinos and robotics. So I just started getting into that because I just thought it was cool that he was doing all this stuff, and it like motivated me to want to do it. And then like, people in the animation department would like, dress up their offices and make it super cool. And I was like motivated through them to want to do that to mine. So I converted my office to the Nostromo from Alien.
Wow.
So it's just like through these people, like you realize that, everyone around you is doing really cool things, and you want to kind of also do that as well. So, I feel like I was always wanting to keep on creating and like showing it to them and, getting feedback. But yeah, definitely, I think the people make the work that much more fun.
Oh, that's great. It's incredible how those small moments are actually shaping your career decisions.
Yeah, and I still stay in touch with them, and I think it's just the networking that I love the most, and just having those special people in your life.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So how did you first launch your career?
I guess it was you mean like kind of in my working, like
Yeah,
getting into
absolutely.
work?
So upon kind of graduation at Scad, entering that last
Yeah.
year, how did that progress for you?
Yeah, so I guess it started with me volunteering at Scad Day, and like my professor was like, "Hey, can you come and just like work so people can just watch you?" And I was like, "Sure." And then like if they have any questions, they come up to you and like say whatever. Which is really cool because you meet people and they're all like interested, and then I try to like get them into visual effects because I think it's cool. And then it was through that I met this guy Hassan, who was working at the mill, and I just started chatting with him just about life or whatever. And then I had my website kind of ready, but I mean it had decent, like I had decent amount of work for how far I was into the program. And but I think like, yeah, putting yourself out there and like talking to him, like, or people in the industry, is super important. But and then he sent my stuff off to the recruiter Kat, and then I got an interview through that, and then just kind of went from there and got that internship. But I guess it was that same I think maybe it was like a month later, then like Pixar came to visit, and then I did an interview with them, and then they wanted me to do an internship the same summer, and I was like, oh man, I have to choose. So
Wow.
yeah, it was kind of hard. But then I realized, then I spoke with someone who had like done the mill before, and they mentioned that maybe I could push it. So I pushed the mill to the fall, and then I did the Pixar internship during the summer because it was only a summer only kind of program. So yeah, and then I started off going to Pixar, and I did the Pixar Undergraduate program. And if anyone's listening that is doing any CG, that's still if once you get into Scad and stuff, I think it's something to look into, because it's probably one of the best summers that I've ever had, and just meeting the people I met, and you get to learn the whole pipeline. So I just kind of learned the whole process of how they make the films there. Yeah, and then like you have talks from like all the directors. I mean, not all the directors, but we had to talk to the director, and then like just talks from all the other people in different departments, and you just kind of learn a lot about the process, which I found infinitely fascinating, because inherently when I was inspired by films, I would always watch the behind the scenes, and then like hearing from them and wanting to be a part of that, it was just like really special. Yeah, so I did that, and I felt like and then yeah, I guess after that I went directly to New York, and then I did the mill internship. So I was a CG artist there, and it was a little different because in animation it's just a longer process. It just takes a little bit longer just to kind of develop and work through. And commercials and advertising is just super quick. So it's just, I guess it's something to think about also going into it is just what you're kind of into, because, you have to be a bit more patient with these longer films and working in the film industry. Whereas in commercials, I don't know, like one day you'll be doing, like I sculpted like this angel for like some commercial, and then the next day I was making like a talking jalapeno for like a lottery commercial. So like it's a huge wide range, and it's fun that way too. But it's definitely, you can't be precious about it. You just gotta get it out. And I met some amazing people there, and like like incredible experience. And then and then I went back to school, or back to Scad, and then finished it off. And then Pixar wanted me to go back, and I went back there and worked for about, I'd say, like 3.5 years. And then I kind of just wanted to live abroad and kind of explore a bit more, different studios maybe. And this place, Double Negative, which is called DNEG now, but they worked on really incredible visual effects films that I just absolutely love. And then they started their own animation department at London. So I kind of took the opportunity to kind of, cross the pond and work here, which has been really fun.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Well, congratulations. That's really just an incredible career so far, and you're already so young.
Yeah, appreciate it.
How did that feel when you knew that what you've studied, the work that you've put into it, and this career in general could allow you to go overseas if you wanted to?
I think it's pretty special. The visa stuff is definitely something that's kind of hard, and I think it definitely helped that I think I worked at a larger studio. But yeah, I mean, I was super excited to know that I was able to do it, and that DNEG was willing to sponsor my visa and all that. Because initially, like, it's something I wanted to do. Like, I just like to travel, and I think initially I just wanted to work abroad. But from different studios I talked to, they're like, oh, I mean, like, you could work here for a bit, and then maybe you could transfer like 5 years down the line or something like that. But it seemed like it wouldn't happen, and I think being able to do this now and having this opportunity is really special. So I don't know, I was really excited about that.
I bet that's an incredible experience to have.
Yeah, it was fun. It's nice.
So speaking of incredible, oh, sorry.
No, go on. I was just complaining about the quarantine because I got here like last October and everything shut down.
Oh no. So speaking of incredible experiences, how does it feel to know that you contributed to an Academy Award-winning film?
And it's pretty special. I think it's cool that we're able to get that kind of recognition on that level. But yeah, it's just, I guess I am really happy to have the opportunity to work with the people I did and learn from them, because they've been doing it since I was I wasn't even, I think Toy Story came out and I wasn't even born yet. So like those same people I was like working with, like I was working with the the production designer on the first film, and he was telling me about like all these really great stories about what it was working on the first one. And I think it's just cool to be a part of that team, and to create something that one person it'd take them like their whole lifetime to do. And I don't even think they could, because the rendering time would be too long. But yeah, no,
Wow.
It's pretty special.
Wow, that's amazing. So do you have any films, cartoons, artists in particular that inspired your work, either back when you were at university or now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a wide variety of things that I was inspired by. I guess growing up, I was really big into like Tim Burton films. So I watched like Nightmare Before Christmas all the time, and like a lot of Ghibli stuff, like living in Japan when I was younger. And then I don't know, I guess older anime like Akira and things like that. But I feel like it's just there's a wide variety of things that inspire me outside of just films and cartoons and stuff. It just, I guess, I don't know, like everything kind of does. And especially now being like a working in 3D, it's like you have to kind of understand engineering and like how things function and like nature and how things grow and mathematics and stuff. So I feel like it was all just a conglomeration of things that kind of led me to pursue what I'm doing now. But yeah, there's so many things.
So to step back a little bit, Iona asked the question of, would you approach your application any differently now?
Like approach applying to SCAD?
Yes, I believe that's what she's meaning.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, sorry. So I guess, yeah, I don't know. I guess I would have done the same as what I had done before. I guess
So
initially, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, that being said, do you have any like tips, or especially just remembering what it was like to be a high schooler and that process?
You mean, okay, like kind of making a portfolio and applying and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry. I think I misunderstood the question.
No problem.
Yeah. No, I think Scad's pretty forgiving in that like you don't need like this wide portfolio to kind of apply and like be there. Like they kind of accept you and you kind of learn there. And for me, like a lot of the stuff I had done was like illustration and just drawing and like some paintings, but I didn't really do anything related to my major. And but it was something I knew I really wanted to get into doing. But I guess it's just resources and like understanding it, which was like kind of the only barrier when I was in high school. But no, yeah, I just think like definitely show your work to as many people as you can. Like I went to a bunch of school, like different local art schools, and like showed off my work, and like they had different little events where you can get it reviewed. And I just kind of did that. And yeah, I mean, through that, I just kind of realized the things that people noticed that they liked about the things I had done, and maybe like where my eye was at certain, with certain pieces. So yeah, just get as many eyes on it and like feedback. And if someone's not really like, I mean, it's like don't take it personally if someone that isn't in the creative field or has like an artistic eye says something bad about your work, because I just don't think that's like it's like fair to some degree. Like they could have like a certain opinion on it, but having someone that's maybe understanding of like some sort of design principle and can kind of look at it and give you some good feedback. But yeah, I don't know, just be confident and confident in yourself, and just be proud of what you made, and then just know that you'll be making a lot more cool things eventually.
That's a great perspective. So we have another question here. Did you have any high expectations regarding your first job after graduating?
Yeah. But the job I had before was cake decorating, and like jumping straight from that to doing like this kind of stuff, and like having to send things off and like feel like I'm responsible for specific things, and like as part of this company, it felt like there was a lot of pressure. But I think it's nice because in general, like everyone knows that you're like just starting, and everyone's willing and eager to help you out. So sometimes it might feel like there's a lot of pressure on you, but people realize that everyone's been kind of in that position before. And I guess for me, like going to Pixar after school, it was like this sense of because there's this residency you have to go through. So I did the internship, and then this residency is 1 year, and then you have to. I felt like because it's like a long interview process, and essentially it's more like how well do you work with the team? Because as good as your work is, like they can kind of teach you the skills, and you can get better at that. But as a person, it's like being someone easy to work with, and someone that's like you'd want to work with and get coffee with is like also like, if not maybe more important, because you spend maybe more time with them than like, I mean, some people say like you spend more time with them than your wife, or like like as you're working like so much, like you're spending a large portion of your life. So I think it's like a important aspect. So just being like a really friendly person, and I think it's through that people kind of wanted to help me out. And yeah, I started feeling less and less pressure to just being like I have to perform at some sort of level, because I mean, they know where you're at, and like, they don't expect you to just, work your butt off nonstop. They want you to like, learn from each other and kind of grow.
It sounds like a really supportive community.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the art community in general is just like people just always kind of want to help you out. And I mean, that's from my perspective from where I was and, the company that I was at, because I cherish the people that I was with. But yeah, I think in general, yeah, I mean, people are just willing to help out. Like, and I think even now, like if any of you are like interested in speaking with someone in the industry or like just want to get a better understanding of kind of how things are, I think you should just reach out to people because like, I don't know, like it's not like it was hard to get a hold of me and like, or like on social media or like anything like that. Like, cause I think, we're all just people and like, in films, at least there's like a list of insane amounts of people that worked on the film. And I think reaching out and like at least talking to them about what it's like to actually work in the industry and like get a better understanding of what that day to day is like very important because I think there's a difference between like being a fan of something and like actually working on it because the process is can be different. And I think realizing that going into it just because you love, I don't know, like a movie or whatever, just for instance, like something I'm doing, it's like going into it because you love that is like obviously you're going to put more effort into it because you do care about the work, but also realizing that the day-to-day isn't just watching the movies, it's like actually doing something that's unrelated and you don't see the final frames every day, you just see like maybe really primitive stuff or like you're working and it doesn't really it's very distant from the final image. So I think it's just important to understand that going in and realizing the day-to-day is very different and just doing as much research and taking your time and like not rushing. I think it's important.
Always a good advice to take.
Yeah.
So speaking of advice, do you have any that you could give to those considering SCAD or hoping to work in the creative industry?
Yeah, I'd say just in general, SCAD's network is massive. And I think, I mean, definitely do research into like what schools kind of work for you. Personally, with the degree that I was going for, SCAD was the best option. And I think, just understanding that, don't get your heart set on a specific place, but like, just talk to people, like I said before, do research, and, just kind of see what kind of works best for you, like, wherever you are. But I mean, personally for me, I know there's different campuses SCAD has, but I mean, I don't know, I like the Savannah one and like just being in that kind of town and like being in that environment, I think is really special. And yeah, just doing research, and like, don't feel like you have to rush into anything. Yeah, like I guess I guess one thing to consider also is maybe, so I don't know if this is unrelated, but like kind of having some sort of focus going into it, like kind of knowing a vague understanding of what you'd want to do instead of jumping in with no knowledge of it, because I know a lot of people that kind of went in, didn't really know exactly what they wanted to do. And this goes for any college in general, but I think going in, SCAD in particular, because I just know people that were in it, but if you go in and like you do something and then you kind of change midway, then like it can be kind of hard to kind of jump into the other thing because you have more classes kind of stacking up because you have to make up for whatever it was. So in general, I can only speak on behalf of SCAD because I've been there, but I think it's like if you have a good understanding of what it is and through foundational classes, you get to kind of like talk to more people and kind of understand what it is that you want to do too. But I think just jumping into going to a school just because you think like, like I just think it's important not to get too dazzled by statistics and like the people there, because I mean, obviously it's important and there's a reason why they're in that position, but I do think that yeah, just kind of doing your own research and going into it and speaking with as many people and kind of paving that path on your own.
Absolutely. I think you have to find your own fit.
Yeah.
That's great. So last question here as we begin to wrap up. What would you say is one reality that most people are unaware of concerning the art and design industry and art and design as a profession?
That's a good question. Yeah, so I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about just the process and what the day-to-day looks like, and not expecting as soon as you get anywhere to just have this, at least for me, like I thought that graduating from Scad and then like getting a job at Pixar and then working there, I was like, oh, okay, well, like, you know, I'm just gonna be happy now. Like this just like I'm just putting everything on the fact that like I'm at this really amazing studio and like my life is gonna be like just infinitely better because of it. And like obviously like I got a lot from it, but at the same time it's like realizing that like, you know, there's a whole life to live outside of just focusing specifically on that career. And obviously you have to, because you know, you're kind of getting into it right now, but I do think that understanding that, you know, that day-to-day process is like important to understand and like know what you'll be contributing. And I mean, it's kind of vague unless you're in it, but I think it's like good to understand what it's like to actually do the work and what it's like for the people and how you know, if they're working long hours and like understanding what parts of the world that you know, you might be living in. Because that's a reality that I think, at least for me in high school, I didn't really see, and it's something that I wish I was able to tell myself to, you know, maybe look into more. Not to say I don't like what I'm doing now, because, you know, I like what I'm doing, but I think just outside of that in general, it's just easy to just be like, you know, see this flashy school or whatever, and then like see all these like people doing amazing things and being like, oh, if I go there, then I just do that, or like this will just bring me like, you know, eternal happiness just doing whatever it is. But you don't really know what the day-to-day looks like. You're just like excited by like the final product. But those people that got to where they got to is because, you know, they maybe pulled all-nighters and like they really love what they do. And I think make sure that that's something that you have, and it's something that you're, you know, willing to kind of sacrifice, is like this, because there's this mentality that like, you know, you kind of grow the most when you're in like uncomfortable situations. And I think pushing yourself to the point of feeling uncomfortable and being like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff, opens you up to like growing and kind of pushing yourself more than you probably ever would have. And I think it was through that, and it was the discipline that I learned through going to Scad and like, you know, through the industry that I worked in, that kind of helps shape, you know, who you are. So I think it's important to think about.
Absolutely. So we have another question that came in here. Were you afraid that if your hobby became your job, that you'd become tired of it?
Oh yeah. Okay. So I think this one's like a really, I think there's a lot of really good talks online of people that kind of talk about this with like concept art and things like that. I think it's important to find a balance outside of it. Like I do think that if you're nonstop, like at least for me, graduating and then working in the industry for a while, I like didn't do a lot of side projects related to just 3D. I was just focusing on the work because I would just spend a lot of time and energy into that at the studio. And then coming home, I would just do something, you know, completely different to kind of, you know, feel that balance. But at the same time, it took a little while, but you have to bring the fun back into it, I guess. Like for the hobby stuff, it's like, at least for me, like going to school and like going through the program, I feel like there was a sense of everything I had to do had to contribute to my career, or like had to push me forward to whatever it was. But I think the thing that you had done initially that led you to want to potentially go to this school or any art school was the fact that you were having fun making art. And I think that is something that was missing. And that was something that I realized that I was like, oh, that's more of what I need to be doing. And then it, as much work as I'm doing now, this side stuff I'm doing is all just because I'm like, ooh, this is just fun. And then it leads to something bigger because the studio had taught you all these amazing things and tips and tricks and, you know, just advice on the things that maybe you'd want to do on your own. So like, I feel like it's just one of those things that if you're, you know, if if you love it and it is your hobby, like I think you'll learn because you're part of that industry. And I think it'll kind of help feed into the things you do outside of it. And I think it's, you know, you'd always have times where you take time off of work and then just like work on your own stuff. And I think working on your own stuff is just good for your soul. So I think having that balance is super important. And you know, just remembering that why you got into it in the first place, you know, was not for, you know, getting some accolade or for anybody else. It was all like, you know, it was just for you. And I just don't think you should forget that. And I personally, it took me a while to kind of, you know, realize that. And now I'm doing a lot more side projects, and I'm always just like, you know, just constantly busy with things. And like, I don't know, I picked up like a music video for like this electronic music duo recently. And like, I'm just like super eager to do stuff because I just think it's fun. And I think that's just something you can't forget when you have work that's kind of tied in with your hobby.
Well, I love that. That's very inspiring.
Do you want to go to Scad now, Olivia?
Yes, absolutely. Truly, though. Thank you so much, Alex.
Yeah, of course.
I think I'm going to invite Kaylin and David back on if there are some lingering questions from the audience about Scad, or if you would like to direct them to Alex, please do. But thank you very much, Alex. That's great information.
Yeah, of course. And if anyone has any questions outside of this, like, you know, you could reach out to me. Just on, I don't know, I'm on Instagram and stuff like that, but feel free to ask any questions, and, you know, don't hesitate if you need to ask anybody else in the industry, because I think everyone's just willing to help out.
Fantastic. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Alex. Really inspiring, Alex. Amazing success you've had, and I hope that your experience of the UK improves from seeing just the four walls of your class in the future. The English summer is quite beautiful when you get to see it. A few questions that came in, which I direct to maybe Olivia and Kaylin, if you don't mind, and then we'll wrap things up. Obviously, we focused on some of the art things, particularly Alex's things there. There's questions come in of people asking about other fields of study. I wonder whether, Kaylin, you might just be able to briefly talk about the many other different types of creative majors that you offer at Scad.
Sure, that's a great question. Yeah, so we offer 43 majors as of today and over 75 minors at the bachelor and master level. So those are 4-year Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Fine Arts, either 1-year Master of Arts or 2-year Master of Fine Arts programs. We also have a Master of Architecture and Master of Urban Design. Our most popular programs are animation, fashion, interior design, illustration, graphic design, film and television, architecture. We also have things like user experience design, social strategy and management, service design, production design, performing arts, visual effects, of course, advertising, photography. There are numerous different fields that students can go into, some lending themselves, of course, more to the traditional fine arts, but the majority of our programs are more design, digital media, fashion related. You know, for example, we have painting, we have printmaking, things like that, but we offer a new user experience design program as of a couple of falls ago, and we actually wrote that curriculum with Google. We were approached by Google to help write the curriculum with us as kind of a way of saying, like, these are the skill sets that are lacking in the industry, and here's what we need, and we're going to hire your alumni because you're the only university that has this at the undergraduate level at that time. So Scad's always on the, you know, keeping up on the pulse of what's in demand in the industry and kind of adapting the curriculum in response to that. So if we see an up and coming industry that's prevalent, we add it. So another example, one of our newest majors is the business of beauty and fragrance. It's a $445 billion industry, and no one was teaching it. And we were approached by, actually as a result of a collaborative project that we did with Estee Lauder, one of the executive directors of marketing, I believe, who's now actually a Scad faculty member. Her name is Melanie Moore. She was just telling us that we needed to do this. We needed to actually teach a curriculum that would get students into this industry. Another example is immersive reality. We now offer curriculum that deals solely with augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality, and all that technology. So again, just keeping up with how the industry is changing, new technology, and making sure that our students are remaining relevant when they go into the career force.
Great, fantastic. I mean, you mentioned fields, and Olivia will not let me not mention the fact that you have equestrian program as well as Scad, which always
Absolutely.
tickles me that you have that program as well. I'd just say, Kaylin and Olivia, there's a couple of questions that have come in, which I think it might be better if you don't mind, you can see that just maybe typing a quick answer. Olivia, a question I want to come to you, a few students and parents ask questions about getting ready for this and how can they do it. How, someone asked, can you design a good reel? What activities can they do and what things? Obviously, you spend a lot of time in a normal scenario, as do other art schools. Coming to the UK and Western Europe, people travel all over the world. Give a shout out to Jeff Jones, who never actually seems to be at home working for Scad. But if students want to engage with you or colleagues from other art schools to get tips on their work and where they are, how would they get hold of you, Olivia, if they needed to do that kind of stuff? And if they want to get particular feedback on their work, how does that process go?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm definitely available via phone, email, any of that. Now, if for some reason you didn't even know where to start, you can always email admissions@scad.edu. Now, for me personally, it's oanderson@scad.edu. And I will be sure to send out an email with my phone number as well. Very, very accessible. And I would say that is throughout Scad. If you want to talk to someone, we are here to help and support you. And it's just making that initial contact. Truly, we have even a live chat on our website that students often go to. And if you get that initial contact, someone will help you make sure that you're able to speak to the person that is best suited for your questions.
Fantastic, great, thank you. And I would say, as a counsellor who works with students looking at art schools in the US every single year, you find when you interact with different people from art schools that every creative college in the US has a slightly different flavour and a slightly different feel to it. Some of that's to do with the city that it's in. You've heard about Savannah and Atlanta, and the story of what Scad has done in Savannah is, as a historian, quite an incredible thing. But it's different if you're going to go to the School of Art in Chicago, if you're going to go to CalArts, you're going to go to Mika. They all have different flavours, and so interacting with the admission staff, people who graduated like Kayla, actual faculty at those institutions is a really great way of saying that, is this my tribe? Are these the sort of people I want to be educated with? Two more questions, because I'm conscious of getting close to time. One for you, Kaylin. We're speaking to students and parents right now. Money and funding and scholarships. What does Scad have on offer, and what is the process?
Always a great question. Yeah, so upon acceptance, students are automatically reviewed for academic scholarships, and that is simply based on their high school grade point average, or if they are coming from another institution, their college or university grade point average. And if they qualify for it, they receive it automatically. So we don't have this specific number of academic scholarships that we give out per se. Students automatically receive them, and they are stackable and renewable every single year of a student's education at Scad. Equally, students can be reviewed for what we call an achievement scholarship, which is a combination of submission of a portfolio and a resume. It's very important for students coming into Scad to know, especially at the undergrad freshman level, that we do not require a portfolio for admission. That differs obviously among many of the art and design institutions and kind of sets Scad apart in a way, but because we have so many various programs, we can't expect students to create, major specific portfolios for them, or even have studied them in high school or things like that. But the portfolio that they do submit is strictly their best work and actually doesn't have to relate to the major that they intend to study at Scad. That can always change. And a resume. And a resume to us is, for a high school student, what did they do for their extracurricular activities? What leadership opportunities have they pursued? Community service, internship or work experience, awards, things like that. And then there are specific international student scholarships that students can apply for. What's great to know is that when you apply to Scad, that personal admission advisor, her name is Tamara, actually, for all of the students coming from UK and Europe, She is your financial aid advisor, and she is the person walking you through all the steps to make sure that you've exhausted all of your options for receiving the most amount of aid. I could not afford to go to Scad. In fact, my family did not want me to apply to go to Scad because they were afraid that I would not be able to eventually, even after going through the whole process. But it actually equated to about the same for me to go to Scad here in Atlanta compared to a public state college university here. So to make a short answer, Scad offers scholarships up to full tuition for all incoming students. We actually do offer also a full intercollegiate athletics program. So athletics is actually the only department at Scad that is allowed to exceed the cost of full tuition. So that would be room and board, books, supplies, things like that. I have seen numerous students, in fact, a lot of our incoming athletes for this fall are from Europe, receiving incredible scholarships to attend for their various sports.
Okay, fantastic. That's not something that I knew about Scad, so I've definitely put something up as well.
Many people
last
do.
question.
In fact, equestrian was kind of the impetus for that. Equestrian was one of our first programs, and we now have one of the best teams in the country. And from that, we added more and more and more athletic teams.
Wow. There we go. Is it the bees? You're the Scad bees, so we have to say go bees. There we go.
Really intimidating.
We've got most of the way through without really addressing the situation that we're all facing of being locked down and not being able to travel so much. And there was a really good question that came in, and we've touched on a bit with the e-learning. For students who might be coming this year or looking at disruptions to their education and stuff, how fluid is the process of e-learning versus on campus with different locations? I know we've had some questions coming in about the Lacoste campus. What flexibility is there right now for students, and I know there's some counsellors on the call who might be working with students to really understand, well, how can the flexibility of Scad enable us to continue our education in a very disrupted time?
You want me to take that one, Olivia?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, thank you.
Many people don't know this about Scad actually, but we have offered an e-learning campus since 2003. So we've been teaching students online for almost 17 years now. And we actually started virtual classes this spring quarter, so back in late March, and we were primed to do that at the drop of a hat. And we shifted very quickly. We're very much a nimble university, so we make those changes rather quickly. But we are fully intending on being on ground in September for students. However, if they are unable to come to campus because their country hasn't opened up or they can't obtain a student visa in time, we allow students to start online or they can start virtually. So the difference is e-learning is asynchronous. So the students can log in anytime, they can just submit the work before the due date. Virtual, as the way that Scad is defining it, is synchronous. So there are actually specific meeting times for those classes, and we make sure that they work for various markets around the world. So regardless of the situation for a particular student, no matter where they're coming from this fall, they can start their Scad degree with their fellow incoming class. And even if they can't, for whatever reason, they can always defer their decision to winter 21 or spring 21. We're making some exceptions for longer deferments, if you will, because of COVID.
Great, fantastic, thank you. That's a wonderful opportunity for students. So it's been absolutely fascinating for me. I mean, I was, as unusually on the webinar, able to sit back and enjoy the interview with Olivia and Alex, and really inspiring, Alex. I'm going to look out for your name when we get, you said, to those humongous list of names at the end and see do I now sort of have a connection with someone who's worked on these things with 3 small children. Pixar is a big part of my life. Hugely helpful. Thank you to Alex again. Thank you to Olivia. Thank you to Kaylin. I hope everyone who's joined been really useful. You will get follow-up emails if you did say that yes, you would like to be contacted by us afterwards. I will be adding you to my mailing list. Olivia, as you'll have seen, those who've asked questions, is very responsive and will be getting in touch with you specifically. Please do contact us if we can help in any way. And if you missed the contact details and you just want me to pass on your introductions to Olivia in the first point, then I can just be the clearinghouse and filter things through. So thank you very much, everybody. It behooves me this time to say stay well, and we look forward to joining you for another University Guys webinar, universityguys.com/live. You will see our next topic coming next week is about university in the wonderful country of Ireland. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.